I'm Eric Anderson. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, the reward for some lucky homeowners.
Kind of getting used to this low maintenance yard work thing. I don't even want to come out and water my potted plants.
The drought-friendly lawns now thriving in San Diego, and like all good things, why the city's Cash for Grass project had to end.
I'm Peggy Pico. Why heroin use is at its highest level ever among adults arrested in San Diego County, and what can be done to reverse the trend. Plus, a preview of the new award-winning documentary, Cosplay Dreams 3D. Filmmakers reveal what else is in store at its screening tonight in San Diego.
It's really cool to meet people who do that.
Cheering on the Sluggers from San Diego, a thrilling victory for Sweetwater Valley Little League today. The West Coast champs with their eyes on a World Series title. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Dwayne Brown is off. Two women soldiers earned their Ranger tabs today. The pair graduating from the Army's rigorous Ranger School, adding a new spotlight on the debate over women in combat. First Lieutenant Shay Haver and Captain Kristen Grist graduated alongside 94 male soldiers at Fort Benning, Georgia. All eyes were on the female soldiers who finished the 9-week program. The challenging course places a premium on physical strength and endurance.
I think that the battles that we won were individual in the fact that at each event that we succeeded in, we kind of were winning hearts and minds as we went.
Now, unfortunately, neither woman can join the 75th Ranger Regiment. That's because women are not eligible for the elite unit. Army leaders do say that that will happen eventually. 51 recruits will start the next San Diego Police Academy class on Monday. While a federal audit in March recommended the department boost its diversity to better serve residents, it didn't completely succeed. Two previous classes in late 2014 and early this year had slightly higher percentages of minorities. 45% of the new class are minorities and 29% are bilingual. Recruits will start a 6-month training program before they become police officers. A pilot program is offering a second chance for young criminal offenders in City Heights. Young people can stay out of jail by using community service and face-to-face meetings with victims and community members to repair the damages caused by their crimes. Officials say the pilot program is working. Out of 46 referrals, nearly half of the offenders reached agreements on a restorative justice plan. Many of the crimes involve battery, vandalism, and theft. People who cross the border to Tijuana on foot are facing increased customs inspections, and some of them are already fed up with the wait times. KPBS Fronteras reporter Jean Guerrero has more.
Customs inspections rules have always been in place in Mexico, but a new immigration building called East Gate gives Mexican officials a facility to enforce those rules. It has 6 inspection booths where immigration officials check passports and fill out immigration forms. There are separate lines for foreigners and Mexicans. Pedestrians crossing the border from San Isidro into Tijuana today, so they faced long lines, a longer walk, as well as some confusion.
It's actually a lot more difficult than going into any other country that I've been to.
It's a little bit intimidating coming in because there's not a great deal of awareness as to where you're actually going. The sign's a little bit vague.
Used to be right across, you just walk down and you go to downtown. Now you have to walk all the way along this fence. For handicapped people and for older people, it's too far and too difficult to walk.
Some said it took up to 20 minutes to cross the border. Officials say the building serves about 22,000 southbound pedestrians a day. Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
A brutal week for Wall Street as stocks tumbled at the end of the trading day. The Dow Jones closed down by more than 530 points as investors reacted to signs of China's slowing economy. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ also ended in the red today. Coming up on the PBS NewsHour, investment experts explain what else is driving the global sell-off. That starts at 7 p.m. on KPBS. There was a slight uptick in San Diego's unemployment rate last month, the jobless rate going up to 5.4% for July. That means more than 85,000 San Diegans were looking for work. That is still below the statewide and national unemployment rates. Seasonal job losses at schools are blamed for the increase. A plan to increase California's gas tax is moving forward at the state capitol, but it faces some tough opposition. A Senate committee approved legislation to add 12 cents per gallon to the state's gas tax. The bill also calls for raising car registration and license fees. Increases are expected to generate more than $4 billion to pay for road and highway renovations. Lawmakers say improvements are desperately needed, but critics say road renovations should be paid for directly from the state budget. Running dry in San Diego, residents snapped up rebates for removing their grass lawns this summer. The city ran out of money the first day the program opened, July 1st. KPBS reporter Claire Tregeser checks in with one homeowner who did get a refund.
When we last left Allied Gardens resident Joey Davis, he was mourning the loss of his green grass.
Coming home to a nice green lawn, it looks good. Coming in my driveway, it looks nice. And I don't want to lose it. I don't want to give it up.
4 months later, his tune has changed.
Yeah, I like the idea of coming home after work and all I have to do is kind of take a quick walk through the yard, maybe pull 1 or 2 pieces of weed or whatever, and that's the extent of my yard work.
He spent 5 weeks turning his green lawn into drought-tolerant landscaping with dirt and succulents. Now Davis says he doesn't miss the grass.
I'm kind of getting used to this low-maintenance yard work thing. I don't even want to come out and water my potted plants.
He was one of the lucky residents who was able to sign up for the turf rebate program before its money dried up.
25% of your grass has to be replaced with some type of drought-tolerant plant. And so I use something called a silver carpet, which is a ground cover that's drought tolerant.
Then he added water-wise plants and small rocks. Davis did all the work on his lawn himself and spent $1,700. He expects to get about $1,000 back from the city. He says the city responded quickly to all of his questions.
Within 24 hours, I get a detailed response with a message to call if any more questions. And one time I did, though, I guess the water conservation department of the city really had it together.
San Diego put $1.2 million into its turf rebate program this fiscal year. All of that money was gone in one day after 600 people applied. Claire Tregeser, KPBS News.
Southern California Edison is firing back on a communications dispute connected to the San Onofre power plant. Earlier this month, a judge ruling that private chats on the plant's shutdown costs violated CPUC rules. Now, yesterday, the company claimed that only 1 of 10 communications needed to be reported to the agency. The violations, if upheld, could add a daily $50,000 fine per offense. The settlement to close San Onofre has consumers paying more than $3 billion. We first told you this week about the latest report showing a spike in heroin use in San Diego County. The number of arrests connected to the drug hit its highest level in 15 years. Peggy Pico continues our coverage to see what it will take to reverse the trend.
For the first time since the Substance Abuse Monitoring Program began tracking data, heroin use among adults arrested in the San Diego area reached an all-time high. According to a new Sandag report, 13% of adult males and 15% of adult females arrested last year tested positive for heroin or opiates. Joining me is Sandag's Criminal Justice Research Director, Cynthia Burke. And Cynthia, your study looked at opiate and heroin use among adult arrestees, not in the general population. What did we learn?
Well, what we know about the interviews we do with the arrestee population is that it's often a predictor of what's going on in the general population. And since 2000, we saw the highest rate positive for opiates, the actual drug test for opiates. So it could be prescription or heroin. And so it was the highest number, 13 and 15, as you indicated, and it was the 4th year that we've had a consecutive increase.
And we'll go back as to why on that. But first, I want to say that historically, heroin use in San Diego was lower than in other major cities. But the most recent recent comparison data, I understand, from 2012 that was in your report found that among adult arrestee males, heroin use dropped by 10% in New York and 15% in Chicago, but in San Diego, heroin use rose by 10%. Is there any ideas as to why the increase here?
You know, I think if I had to point to one factor, it would be prescription drug abuse. We hear anecdotally from law enforcement about how youth and younger individuals are using OxyContin, other drugs. It's easy to get, people might get hooked on a prescription that was theirs or not theirs, and then they often transition to the street drug when it no longer it's too expensive or it's too hard to get. They can get heroin on the street easier.
Now, you mentioned that this is a reflection of what's happening in the general population. How big of a problem is opiate use here in San Diego?
Well, we don't have statistics overall, but these data are consistent because often it's self-report information. We know nationally through the CDC that past year use is up 63%. Deaths related to heroin and opiate use quadrupled since over the past few years. We know from the county medical examiner, they looked at unintended deaths. Heroin was the top drug involved there. And we also know with drug treatment through Health and Human Services, their treatment, they ask, what's your number one drug of choice? And it went from 19 to 25% over the past few years. So we're seeing these increases not just with our data in the jails, but also with treatment data and then also death data locally.
If you could give us a profile of heroin users in San Diego, gender, age, do we have sort of a profile?
We know what's been interesting is traditionally with our arrestee population, it was older arrestees, 40 and over, that we saw most likely to test positive for the opiates. Now we're seeing it's more likely in the 18 to 24 and the 25 to 39, so that was a big change. We have some ethnic differences. Arrestees who identified as Caucasian were most likely to say that they had experimented with the prescription drugs and then transitioned to the opiates and the heroin. We know about 3/4 had done that. In terms of the gender, you mentioned some of the differences, 15% of females, 13% of males. We also know that many of them were polydrug users. They also used meth, and we know meth is the drug of choice for females as well.
What about some other connections? Prior drug use, meth, unemployment, mental health. There were some other definitely links that you pointed out in the report.
What we wanted to point out was how important you need a continuum of care. And when you're, if you're a treatment provider, if you have somebody there, a lot of people might see this data and say, why does it matter to me? Well, we wanted to point out that there are many individuals who are injecting or are sharing needles and syringes and the works that goes with it. So the concern there's mental health needs. They were more likely to say that they had a mental health diagnosis or had committed or thought about committing suicide. They were more likely to be homeless and unemployed. So if you're trying to deal with that drug issue, there's going to be another of other issues to deal with.
Sure, and that brings me to our final question here. How do you decrease opiate use and heroin use? Is it attacking it from those specific areas, or are there specific programs in San Diego to help?
You know, I think it's a continuum. At the individual level, parents, I need to say, never too early to talk about drugs, especially prescription drugs. Somebody may think if it comes in a bottle with a doctor's note on it, it's okay. They're still very addictive substances. Treatment options are out there. 211 is a great number to call for resources if you know somebody who's having an issue with any type of opiate use. And then also there's prescription take-back days. September 26th, it's a Saturday, is our National Take-Back Day. And that's an opportunity to get rid of prescription medicine that maybe people aren't using in your household. But at any time, someone could drop by the sheriff's station or the police department to safely get rid of those drugs, so it's not an issue.
Get rid of the prescriptions. 211
yes.
For anybody who needs resources on that. Cynthia Burke, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Something smells funny in Lilac Hills, a huge backcountry development project. Carlsbad may okay a new shopping center next to the strawberry fields on its coastal lagoon. And the Coastal Commission says no to 3 Harbor Island hotels. You'll never guess why. Join us for the Roundtable tonight at 8:30 here on KPBS.
Check it out. The first wolf pack spotted in California in nearly a century. Photographs show a group of gray wolves near Mount Shasta earlier this month. The so-called Shasta pack includes at least 2 adults and 5 pups. Wildlife experts have been tracking wolves that have been coming into California from Oregon for the last 4 years. The young wolves are around 4 months old. Cosplay is all the rage when Comic-Con is in town. A new documentary about people who dress in costumes screens tonight in San Diego. Peggy Pico has a preview.
Stormtroopers on the trolley, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles roaming around the gas lamp, and superheroes in the supermarket. Well, that's just the norm during Comic-Con. Tonight we take a look at who's behind the costumes and why they take part in cosplay.
What cosplay means is costume play. Basically, you're playing your character. You have to act as your character. You have to be your character. We talk differently. We act with each other differently, especially if we're doing a villain and a hero. It's a lot of fun.
That's from the new award-winning documentary Cosplay Dreams 3D by San Diego filmmakers Gulliver and Christine Parascandalo. Welcome to Evening Edition.
Thank you.
Thanks for having Gulliver, why do cosplayers dress up in comic book, film, historical, and other characters?
Well, I think cosplayers are a special breed of fans of pop culture, and among other things, cosplayers literally make the world that they want to live in by, creating costumes that are homages to characters that they identify with in comic books or video games or, even movies. And what's really amazing is that there are so many different kinds of people that cosplay from all walks of life, from all over the country and all over the world.
Sure, we certainly saw that in the clips, all different ages. Christine, is this just a fun hobby, or can people actually make a living at this?
People actually do make a living at this. We actually follow one of the most famous cosplayers. She's a celebrity, Yaya Han, and she makes a living being hired and dressing up. Well, she creates the costumes and she goes and represents different companies, different brands, and she makes quite a nice living at that.
So that's one person that you highlight in the film, but Gulliver, you also zero in on a couple other cosplayers. Can you highlight a few of those others in the film as well?
Sure. I mean, you have, within any artistic industry, you have the upper echelon, which is Yaya Han, but, we also follow many what we call full-time hobbyists, some people who their living rooms don't have any chairs or couches. They have sewing tables and fabric rolls, and they have mannequins with half-finished costumes everywhere. But a lot of cosplayers actually use the skills that they learned sewing, leatherwork, blacksmithing in some cases, engineering, electrical work, to go forward in their careers. So a lot of cosplayers, one in particular, he was a single dad and in his mid-30s, and he'd been cosplaying for years and years, spending thousands of dollars on replica Batman outfits. And he realized that he had to start making money if he was going to continue this hobby, which can be expensive.
Sure.
So he created a costume for hire, or a character for hire business. And now he gets to, be basically a superhero full-time while being his daughter's real-life hero.
Oh, that's excellent. I was going to say, I'll bet you his daughter loves that. Now, your film won Best Documentary at the 3D Film Festival. Congratulations. Christine, why do the 3D thing? Why make this in 3 dimensions? Because it's already pretty visually stimulating.
It is, but, we consider the cosplayers themselves as 3D works of art. And especially when you see the elaborate costumes and the materials used, the grand, presence of these cosplays, we felt that was just the strongest medium to really represent and not only just the cosplayers, but all these locations that we traveled to. We were aboard the Queen Mary shooting a steampunk convention, which is another genre of cosplay. We were camping out with medieval knights.
Certainly, yeah.
Crowning the King of San Diego. Didn't know there was a king.
There is a king of San Diego. Well, briefly, we do have to end on this. Gulliver, what do you want people to take away from this film experience?
Well, I think what our film really highlights is that no matter what your passion is, no matter what you want to do in life or what you are attracted to, being yourself is really the most important thing, and finding a community where you can have that freedom to express yourself and really make the world that you want to live in. I think that's an inspiring message for any artist.
And any age. And unfortunately, we do have to leave it there. Gulliver and Christine, thank you so much. And I want to let folks know that you can attend tonight's screening of Cosplay Dreams 3D at the Gaslamp Reading Cinema, complete with a costume contest and art show. The film starts at 7:30 tonight. More information at kpbs.org.
Now, of course, some of those costumes require a lot of imagination, but imagine Shakespeare set to rock and roll. Return to the Forbidden Planet also uses sci-fi B movies to channel the Bard. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando takes a closer look at this out-of-world production here in San Diego.
The plays of William Shakespeare have proven highly adaptable, surviving and thriving for more than 4 centuries. Audiences have seen the melancholy Dane relocated to a Canadian brewery in Strange Brew, and Macbeth's ambitious tale set against the backdrop of a fast food empire in Scotland, PA. In 1956, The Tempest was even jettisoned into outer space.
Imagine yourself as one of the crew of this faster-than-light spaceship of the future.
We are in our spacecraft.
Marlene Montez plays the sexy science officer in the play Return to Forbidden Planet, which has out-of-galaxy departures taking off from the Carlsbad New Village Arts Theater through September 6th.
Well, this is my ship. Welcome. Welcome. This is my baby. This is the ship I've been flying around space for many, many years.
The cast, the crew, takes good care of the passengers, even instructing them in what to do in case of polarity reversal.
Thank you for your attention. Enjoy your flight.
Return to Forbidden Planet is a jukebox musical created by Bob Carlton in the 1980s. As with the 50s sci-fi film Forbidden Planet, it draws on Shakespeare's The Tempest for inspiration.
Hi, cats. My name is Ariel. Beep, beep. I am the invention of the Doctor, who took pains to make me speak.
The play originally promoted itself as Shakespeare's forgotten rock and roll masterpiece.
Goodness gracious! Great balls of fire!
The play delivers a surprisingly fun mashup of the Bard and rock and roll.
They work so well together because Shakespeare was written for the masses, for everyone, and rock and roll also speaks to the masses, so I think that's why it's so relatable in such a weird way.
With Shakespeare's poetry tapping into the essence of musical theater.
When you burst out into song, it's because it's an elevated, like your emotion and speaking can't quite convey, so then people just randomly break out into song.
This is a man's world.
I think it's the same thing with Shakespeare, and it's like the text guides you to that place, and somehow it's kind of organic.
So it makes perfect sense for the Prospero character to introduce himself by singing Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood.
Yes, I'm just a soul whose intentions are pure. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. Oh, never was a story of more woe than this of Gloria and her Prospero.
These familiar songs help make sure that Shakespeare is better understood.
People that don't understand Shakespeare or haven't been involved with it or they're afraid of it or they don't think they'll understand it or they're not interested, this gives them that taste of it and it makes them go, wait, I might actually really like to actually go see a Shakespeare play, go see The Tempest.
You could say Return to Forbidden Planet serves as a gateway drug to the Bard.
Absolutely. You know, I read something, it said it was like Shakespeare on training wheels. So the show is kind of like a good introduction to Shakespeare.
It's really fun because you are mixing all of this together and it's exciting and it's amazing how well it works together. Shakespeare still fits today because you can do that. You can take these wonderful songs from the 60s and then put it with Shakespeare and it all mixes together really well.
We call it Fakespeare. There's actually real dialogue from Shakespeare's plays. I think my character alone quotes 10 of Shakespeare's plays, but then they also kind of write the dialogue to change some things, so.
Friends, crewmen, passengers, lend me your ears.
Captain Tempest welcomes you aboard this routine scientific survey flight.
If you're in the mood for some rock and roll, as well as iambic pentameter in a zero-gravity setting, then you need to book a flight to Return to Forbidden Planet. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Return to Forbidden Planet continues through September 6th at the New Village Theater in Carlsbad.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next News Hour. How Arizona State became the largest university in the United States by opening its doors to low-income students. That's Friday on the PBS News Hour.
The Sweetwater Valley All-Star Little League team continued their winning ways today. They beat a team from Kentucky 14-2. KPBS reporter Matt Bowler was in Bonita today at the official watch party here for the Little League World Series, which is being played in Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Hundreds came out to La Finca de Adobe in Bonita to watch the game. The rain delay yesterday didn't dampen fan excitement at all today. Even before Sweetwater Valley's 14-2 win, Carla Pacula says she was really proud of Bonita's boys this summer.
They represent San Diego real well. They represent Bonita, and they have done an awesome job. And for them, I mean, just the time and the courage and everything they have done, that's just an example for all the kids to learn. You know what? Hard work pays off.
Fans are riding high on yet another win, but for a little bit, thoughts quickly turned to the next game. Sweetwater Valley All-Stars play Sunday at 12. Matt Bowler, KPBS News.
And of course, the journey just underway for Sweetwater. They face off against a team from Texas this weekend. That team beat Oregon 1-0. Mild weekend on tap for San Diego this coming weekend. Look for a mix of sun and clouds by the beaches. Temperatures are going to be up in the 70s or so. A little bit warmer in the inland valleys. Look for the mercury to reach 80s and 90s. If you look up into the mountains, temperatures going to be up in the 80s and 90s there as well. And out in the desert, of course, triple digits. That's what we expect this time of year. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back here again on Monday night. Have a great weekend.